This is a story about two mates escaping the 9 to 5 and heading off on a bike packing mission. Our chosen mission was the Kōpiko Aotearoa, a 1,000 kilometre cycling route which traverses the widest point of New Zealand. Riders can start and finish at either end, which is where it gets its name. The route is remote, predominantly off-road, and contains 2 Everests worth of elevation. With no international travel to satisfy our lust for adventure, Kiwis are having to find it at home. This was our backyard adventure, the Kōpiko Aotearoa.
On time as usual, mate.
We'll actually get a main photo. It's actually probably going to... This is better time. We want a bit more landscape.
Andy's master plan was to get to Uhura on the first night, a 200k ride, followed by pushing through the timber trail the next day. We'd hoped that the 75k timber trail plus the 100k's extra we planned to do was pretty achievable, but we're about to eat our words on that one.
So lost my jandal. 5 minutes into the trip.
Look what we just found on a sign.
Yes.
Having ridden from sunrise till sunset in 12 hours of riding time, we'd grossly underestimated the timber trail and how hard it would be riding it in the wrong direction. We'd run out of food and water hours before, and at this point we were severely dehydrated, but we were in fits of laughter just reminiscing about how hard the day had been. As we rolled into Whakamaru, we learned that the day wasn't done with us yet. It had one more surprise in store.
Today we're confirming that there are 3 new cases of COVID-19 in the community and 1 at a managed isolation facility.
With a COVID storm brewing in Auckland, turns out there was a real storm brewing too, and this one over the North Island, headed straight for us. Feeling battered from yesterday and almost hungover from the dehydration, we continued gingerly eastwards. I wondered what the mighty Ureweras might have in store for us. It was the highest and most remote point in our trip, and the thought of facing it in a rainstorm worried me. But I guess that's what I like so much about bike packing. You have to trust in your plan, trust in your gear, trust in your preparation. And at the end of the day, your job is pretty simple really. It's just to swing your leg over the saddle and put one pedal in front of the other day after day. I find the simplicity of that really focuses the mind. Regardless of how hungry you are, how cold you get, how tired your legs are, even if you have to push your bike, you're always in search of relentless forward momentum. worse the weather became, the more stoked we became. I'd realised that this is what we'd wanted. We'd been looking for a backyard adventure. And well, biking through a rainstorm in the Uruweras, that's certainly an adventure in my book. What ends up making your adventure memorable isn't just the adversity you overcome. It's also the people you meet along the way, stopping to talk to locals, learning about the history of the land that you're passing through. To all the local farmers who were dot watching and supporting us, whether that be a hot cup of tea, a piece of fruit, or even just a chat. I know I can speak for all Kopiko riders when I say that this really means a lot when we're absolutely knackered, and it really makes the trip.
Yeah.
Climbing out of the fog of the Motu village, we were headed towards the last section of the trip, the coastline of the East Cape. One of the most beautiful and untouched coastlines in New Zealand. It was a part I'd been looking forward to all trip, and when I saw the blue sky in front of us as we broke through the cloud, I knew our last few days of the trip would be an absolute treat. As we pedalled the last few kilometres into the lighthouse, I felt a little sad. I couldn't believe that our adventure was over. Me and Andy had experienced what it was like to live a different life for a week. Bikepackers hell-bent on forging a path from west to east, against all odds. Well, maybe just some odds. As we walked the 800-odd steps up to the lighthouse, our calves screamed. We'd barely walked a step in a week. Turns out our fitness was quite specific to riding bikes. As we sat atop the lighthouse hill, we reminisced about how we wouldn't change a single thing about our trip. It was our Kopiko, and every adventure has to come to an end.